What up? 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 What's going on, America? It's your boy Rod and Don. We in the building, Brooklyn Bears and Ball Sports Show. We back. It's season 2. It is on and popping. The NFL season is underway. We already had week 1. We talked about Cowboys. We talked about Giants, 49ers, Steelers, and now we about to approach week 2. It's about to be on and popping, y'all. What's good out there? Big D, what's good with you, bro?
Oh, man, it's all good. We got 2 interesting games we need to talk about.
Yes.
I think you guys somebody's looking out for you guys because
oh boy, here we go.
As we know, Aaron Rodgers' situation happened, but we're going to get into it and try to forecast how our seasons are going to fare. But without further ado, man, let's get into it. Okay, week 2. We got 2 games on the slate that we want to discuss. Well, let's start off with this. Jets and Bills. That was an interesting game. We're not going to really go into the whole X's and O's of the game. Ultimately, real quick with the Bills, unless they establish a running game, it's just going to be, they're only going to go but so far. Your quarterback cannot be your best runner on the team. So as long as they totally lean on Josh Allen to do all of the running and try to throw it 70 yards, and now I had mentioned in the last episode, they were going to force feed Diggs. That is a problem. Once your star receiver has an issue, or you feel obligated to throw everything to him, it actually makes it easier for the defense. All they got to do is focus on Diggs. You're leaving Gabe Davis, other parts of your team, your tight ends. Everybody's wide open, but you're focusing on throwing 20 passes to Diggs a game. That is a recipe for failure. Real quick, the Jets, I think for them to be able to win the game after Aaron Rodgers got hurt and they got Zach Wilson again, who was a nightmare. He was terrible last year. They were still able to pull it off. That was an indictment to the Bills. But also, I'm going to keep it 100. I said, me and you text, the Jets are not going to lose. And both New York teams are not going to be totally embarrassed and destroyed on September 11th. Never going to happen. Let me know in the 20 years when both New York teams, especially while playing in New York, are going to lose, and on not the weekend of September 11th, exactly the day, then we weren't going to lose. So I'm not saying it was totally in the cards and scripted, but I will say this: I wasn't surprised that they actually were able to pull it off, even though they lost who was supposed to be their quote-unquote NFL savior and team savior. But, I think that bodes well for you. That's what we're getting to. That bodes well for you this week because I thought you had a little fear with Aaron Rodgers, what he has been able to do to the Cowboys in the past. Him coming to play you guys, I think now you don't really have to worry as much, or that's at least a huge aspect of the matchup that it shouldn't be a concern for you because the quarterback play is suspect. The defense is still going to be tight. You still have to worry about the defense. And I will say this before I pass it to you. I predict Dak Prescott to have at least 2 turnovers tomorrow. I think because Dak Prescott is going to have to put the ball. He's going to have to pass. It's not going to be something where the defense, because I think Robert Saleh, I think they're going to be really careful how they put Zach Wilson in situations. I don't think that he's going to try to throw the ball a lot. I think they're going to try to lean on that run game, little short passes, little screens, bubble. They're going to work on that so that it's easier for Zach Wilson. And if that defense, if the key for them is if they can sustain drives and they could do a kind of a methodical, longer drives where the run game is involved. Garrett Wilson, if you have him on fantasy, shout out to Corey who has him on fantasy, his stock has dropped tremendously. He's still a great player, but even their win last week, it took a tapping it off his shoe and in his elbow and then laying on the ground and catching it for them to even get into the end zone. So yeah. I think it's going to be questionable. Congratulations on your second victory, because Dallas should win, and if they don't, that's a problem. What do you say?
No, I agree with you. I'm really nervous about this game, more so because of the fact that Brandon Cook most likely will not play. He sprained his MCL this week, so they most likely may keep him out for precautionary reasons. No reason to put him in a threatening situation this early in the season. But that's a big loss for us, because we got him in to take the top off the defense. He's our speedy guy. He's fast. It does give us an opportunity, though, to look at Jalen Tolbert. That's our third-round draft pick from last year. He just sucked last year. He was bad, but he had a very, very impressive preseason. And he's really stepped up his game a lot. You could see he worked on a lot of his techniques, and he's actually going to be, I think, at least most Cowboy fans believe, he can be a really good receiver. So he'll get some opportunity in this game. But Brandon Cook not playing, that's a bit of a concern for me. To your point, though, it's what the Jets would do to neutralize the pass rush, right? Because the thing you don't want to do is drop back and throw the football. No one gets to do that against Dallas. That's not going to happen. If you think you're just going to be conventional and you're going to take a 3-step back, 5 steps and drop back and then just, think you work the pocket and get guys open, it's not going to happen. That pass rush is coming. And that O-line for the Jets is horrendous. And it was bad last year. It is bad this year again. It didn't get any better. And that's the thing. I was really shocked that they didn't shore up enough. I mean, when you look at Rodgers, the first 4 plays into the game, every down that he played, he was running back into the locker room just about. That's how bad the rush was coming at him. He was running behind the goalpost trying to shake guys. I mean, it was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? So the truth, So the truth is that O-line is a problem. So to your point, which is a very, very good point you made, D, bubbles. If the run game works, they're going to try to come up the middle, because that was Dallas' Achilles heel last year, at least up until the 8th game of the season. Dallas was bad against the run in the first 8 games of the season until we traded for Jonathan Hankins, got him from the Raiders. He kind of beefed us up. Mozzie Smith, our first-round draft pick, he really didn't impress too much in training camp and in preseason, but being a nose tackle, that kind of takes time to develop. He's working on some techniques there, but we got to get him ready and get that thing short up in the middle. So if we can neutralize Breece Hall, because here's the thing too, as bad as the Jets looked last year, Hall wasn't there, right? They didn't have these other weapons that really would have been helpful to Mike White and to Zach Wilson. But now you're looking at a run game, and you got Dalvin Cook, who still got tread on the tires. He's definitely still a good back. He can run the ball effectively. So Dallas, it's going to be tough. If we could stop the run game, then the game is won. Now Dallas scoring against the Jets, I am concerned about that. Like I say, not having Brandon Cooks in there. So it's almost the same too. Dallas has got to be able to run the ball a little bit. It's hard to go up against that front 4 because they got a mean front 4. They're stout up in the middle. So we're going to have to do some get very creative. We can't go Kellen Moore on this one. We're going to have to be a little creative. Hopefully Schottenheimer and McCarthy's got something different up their sleeve in terms of utilizing these other weapons with Turbin and, obviously getting CD involved. They got really 2 good corners. Obviously we know Sauce is the man there, but Sauce didn't look too good last week. I mean, like you talk about the force feeding Diggs though, but Diggs was getting off last week. You know what I mean? He had impressive numbers. So, I think there is still something there. I mean, to me, these guys, I'm not taking that away from Sauce, and these guys are good, but listen, man, they you want to look at some really great shutdown corners. Obviously we know Dion, Aeneas Williams. You got Champ Bailey. Like, these guys are some real true. Everybody wants to be a shutdown corner. I mean, look, one good year. You're not that. You can be beat. All right, it's not that serious. Okay, nobody's scared of you. You're not taking away a whole half of the field. You're not Deion Sanders. It's not happening. So anyway, I think Dallas has to be careful. This is a very losable game for Dallas, even without Aaron Rodgers. With Rodgers, it would have been a problematic game. Rodgers is always giving us problems. Every Cowboy fan knows he is a Cowboy killer for sure. But, not having Rodgers there, look, it is what it is. I'll take it, you know what I mean? But I'm never not sleeping on the Jets at all because that defense is real. And so Dallas and Dak, they're going to have a whole nother challenge, much different than what they had with the Giants last week.
So do you think that Dak will have a turnover or two?
No, I don't think so.
So a clean game from Dak.
A clean game from Dak. Yeah, a clean game from Dak. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very clean game. Yeah, I think he's going to have a clean game. But and Dak is going to throw the ball. I mean, they're not going to treat Dak like a second-year quarterback. I mean, he's not going to, which was kind of part of the Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore philosophy. They always played it safe. That was part of the reason why Dak too, and I know you ain't going to want to hear this, but part of his interceptions as well last year because he really got aggressive. Mind you, we was the number one offense.
Yeah,
we led the league in scoring last year. I know you don't want to hear it, but it's the truth. Dak took a lot of.
So they were the reason. So they're the reason that you're saying that Kellen Moore was the reason that Dak threw as many interceptions as he did.
I think they stretched Dak.
Not staring down receivers, not ill-advised, throwing into double coverage. That has nothing to do with it.
He did that. No. What I'm saying is he did those things, no question about it. But Dak also took a lot of chances down the field. A lot of the different zone routes that the receivers are running, based on how they're and reason why they play sometimes they had them in that zone routes because it would all depend on where the safety was going to be. So it's like a read and react in that moment. And so a lot of times Dak or CD or Dak or Gallup, they just weren't on the same page in some instances. But that's part of when you take that step, right? When you try to now, okay, I need you to be an aggressive, elite quarterback, and you got to be able to now read things on a whole nother level. And I think that him and the receivers just weren't really on it that way. And I think this is part of what you got to have for Dak. And now, again, I know we're 8 years in the game with Dak right now. He's gotten top money. He's looking to get an extension next year. But this is where Dak is going to have to really make his money. And he's going to really prove that he is what he thinks he is and what we all either don't know he can be or not be. Some have him there, some don't have him there. I've always been still in the middle of the fence with Dak. I do think we can win a Super Bowl with Dak, but I do think sometimes Dak can be, he can be that Achilles heel. And I think that's what happened we saw in a playoff game against the Niners. Because across the board, everybody played lights out for all intents and purposes, but Pollard's injury, Dak with some bad throws in that game, clearly. But that's the thing we're going to see with Dak. That's why I think he's going to be aggressive, but I don't think he's going to turn the ball over. No, I don't think. Okay, can we put a caveat on your turnover thing real quick though? All right, can if it's a drop or a tip pass or something like that, okay, it's a turnover statistically. All right, but
we're not going to dive into now starting to go into second and third metrics on what is considered. Because when you say
turnovers, you're talking about it's
an interception.
But are you saying though that if it's but are you saying that he's going to have 2 turnovers? Is it going to be like where these are bona fide turnovers that are clearly Dak's fault?
He's going to have at least 1, maybe 2. But it what you were saying, it all boils down to decision making. And if a player, a receiver, a tight end, whoever is double covered, or why not just throw it away? That's where mentally the quarterback who is getting paid the money, who's the face of that franchise, is supposed to make decisions that are in the best interest of winning, number one. Number two, the team. So I can't blame Kellen Moore or anyone else for Dak's lack of chemistry with his receivers, right? Because you told me CeeDee Lamb was a number one receiver, right?
He is.
So now all of a sudden,
he was an all-pro this year.
Brandon Cooks being hurt shouldn't even be anything on your radar because he just got there. The chemistry with CeeDee Lamb should be solidified with Dak, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, a lot of teams, most teams, or I'll say this, a lot of teams don't have multiple number ones. You're basing your success, Dallas's success, on Brandon Cooks.
No, I'm
that's
not.
going to
I didn't say
hurt
that.
us
I
because
just
he
no.
was.
No, I
He
didn't
just
say
got
that.
there.
I didn't say no. I said that not having him is critical because of what he brings in terms of
It shouldn't
speed
be.
and taking the top off. But that's a big, especially against a defense like that. That you're going to have to honor a guy who's actually had 6 seasons of 1,000 yards and is still a very young, capable receiver. I mean, Brandon Cooks was even a number one, for a number of years in Houston. So what I'm saying is that makes life easier for a CeeDee Lamb and Dak even more. Yes, Dak, clearly we could still win. We won a great deal of games last year without a Brandon Cook, but now that makes it even better. I mean, I understand what you're saying. He hasn't been there yet enough to even prove what that'll be. But I mean, in theory, it's still a loss if he doesn't play, because against a defense like that, now you still have a really good, formidable number 2. So, I mean, Gallup has been good, but Gallup is coming off his injury last year. Now he's finally healthy. I mean, he played last year from the injury the year before that. But what I'm saying is now he's there. But Gallup has been, he's an inconsistent kind of guy. So we've been the expectations are is for Cook to be that. But let me get back to my point real quick with Dak to what you're saying and why I'm talking about Kellen Moore. The first 7 years or 6 years of Dak's career under Jason Garrett and Kellen Moore, the problem is that they never allowed Dak to really develop. They don't develop. And Des Bryant said it himself, even when Scott Linehan was there, our OC, before they gave the job to Kellen Moore. They because of the predictability with Dallas and there's no development, they didn't develop Dak. Dak should have been already throwing haymakers by the time he was in his 3rd year in the league. He should have already been doing that.
Des Bryant is talking about development. He's talking about development. What did he do as a receiver?
What did he do?
All he was a 50-50 ball.
All-star.
Wait a minute.
I mean,
did he develop?
And he was an all-pro one year.
Did he develop as a receiver, his route running? Or was he just a possession receiver?
That's what he was. He was a possession receiver. And really a 100 ball. It wasn't no 50-50 with Des.
So he couldn't have developed? What I'm saying is, if he's talking about
coaching,
development...
But that's to his point. That's the point he's making.
No, that's on the individual. Nobody can.
No. Coaching does that. Coaching takes. This is my opinion in this. Now, you can do what you do off season and certainly work on your game, but to develop as a player overall in any sport, a team sport in particular,
I disagree with that.
Coaching
it has nothing to do with coaching.
Critical to that. You don't think coaching has to do with development of players?
It has a small part to do with it. I think if a person puts in the time off season, that will show, and then you will say, hey, I should get a bigger role because now I have developed XYZ and I'm ready to
but what if the scheme doesn't allow that to be? But if that player personally develops in their skill set, but then they come back into training camp with that skill set somewhat developed, and now they become a little more aware of what they're able to do in their toolbox or skill set. But if the system still doesn't allow that development to be displayed, then what good is it? It doesn't do anything. So coaching still, scheme, coaching, how you use the players. Look at Shanahan. Your coach puts your guys. Deebo Samuel is not Deebo Samuel somewhere else. I don't care what you tell me. Ayuk is not Ayuk anywhere else. You can tell me anything you want. Those guys, even the quarterbacks that y'all have had, even a Jimmy Garoppolo for that point, it mattered. He won a lot of games for y'all, but he won a lot of games because of the fact that you got coaching that knows how to coach guys up. That's the thing.
All this time,
we never had that in Dallas.
I thought Jerry Jones was holding back the Cowboys from winning Super Bowls.
Well,
but actually, it's the coaches. It is. No.
Well, not now. But we wasted 10 years of ineptitude on a Jason Garrett. Garrett should have been fired a long time ago. Dallas probably could have had a Super Bowl by now if they would have let go of Garrett. He didn't want to let go of Garrett. 10 years of ineptitude with Jason Garrett. Garrett should have nowhere.
I agree with that because he was an 8-8. He was solely
that's all he was.
8-8.
He was a mediocre coach. That's all. Yeah. That's all he was going to give you. And he was conservative, and he was, he never wanted to really. It's just the way he thinks. I don't know if it's the Princeton mentality. It's very calculated. It's very, what I'm trying to say. And that's it. We do, Matthews. We do need a bigger wide receiver. We do, and hopefully we could get some because most of our guys are small. I agree with you there. That's when our tight ends with Ferguson and Hendershot give us a little bit of size because those guys can get down the field too as some good tight ends. But the problem is with Dallas and the coaching, and I've been saying this for years, we've never had coaches that knew how to develop guys. We draft well, but we don't develop these guys in the drafting. We can draft our behinds off. Will McClay is a beast when it comes to drafting. But the problem is that Dallas just doesn't have the coaching staff to pull these guys up. Whereas a Shanahan can pull a guy off the street and then he just knows what to do with this guy, put him in position and take him to where he needs to go and develop his skill sets within the system. And that's the point I'm making. You got to develop your skill set, but you got to have a system that can complement it.
So based on what you're saying, you guys are doomed.
We're not doomed. Why would it be? You know what, America, let me tell you something about Don. Okay.
You guys got no shot in
know
the world.
what?
Based on
You know what?
you giving a
I can say one thing
you're
about
only gonna be as good as you are when you come in day one. And as soon as you come into the facility, you have a glass ceiling. No, I can't accept that because players, it is the player's job to get better each and every year.
It is, but you still got to.
But to put it solely on the coach that I'm an underachiever because the coach didn't allow me to fully display all of my skills.
It's the truth.
Des Bryant was the man on that team
for
a period of time. You mean to tell me if he had worked on his craft in the offseason, they wouldn't have given him the exposure? I find that hard to believe.
I know you do, but honestly, that's the truth. The route trees that Scott Linehan had, he was the OC for most of the part of Dez's career there. The route tree was very limited. It was like maybe 3 routes that they ran. There was no, because they relied on the run game. You had DeMarco Murray at that time. We had, of course, the offensive line was stout. That's what they relied on. And it was just going back to basic football. And you let Romo create and do the things that he did. You got Jason Witten, obviously, was a blanket there for him. But that was it. That Dallas didn't, there was no real creativity. There was no real, and Romo only really had the success that he had because, honestly, he was just a really gifted quarterback in that sense. But the truth is, there was no real creativity or development with Dallas. And Jason Garrett and the coaching staff, they just did not go beyond what they felt was a safe zone for players to play in. It was always
based on what you're saying, when a player shines in that offense, who gets the credit? Should it be the player, or should it be the coach? So Jason Witten, who you believe will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, who gets the credit for that?
You believe that too, but
I'm just asking you a question.
You believe it too. Don't try to act like So do you believe? Do you believe?
Right.
Jason Garrett is the first ballot. Oh no, you believe, okay? So you believe he is too.
Okay, so based on that, who should get the credit? Is that Jason Garrett? I mean, I'm saying Jason Garrett. Is that Jason Witten's work in the off season and really putting in the time to be, or is that just a product of the coaching? Because it's all exposure at the end of the day. When you have a skill set that you bring to the marketplace, you either have it or you don't. You look at NBA players who over 1 year, they get progressively better each year because they're working on their craft. If I can't shoot a jump shot, well then, I got to develop a mid-range. If I'm terrible at the free throw line, I got to work on that. And I know it's football and basketball, but specific skills that work to make you multi-dimensional, that's what it is. And you can't blame coaching. Oh, well, the coach didn't let me do this or that because, the play calling didn't allow for me. Oh, I had all this in my arsenal. I didn't show it in preseason. I didn't show it in training camp. They never knew. It was the best kept secret. And I could have been so much further along. We could have won Super Bowls if they had only called this play. That is ridiculous.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you though, but that's how it works. If you don't have players, your job as a coach is to put guys in the best position to succeed based on their skill set. You design plays, whether it be defensively or offensively, based on your personnel. And so because you have to understand that I only can work with what I have, right? If I'm gonna work with a 3-4 defense, a 4-3 defense, if it's a 46 or if I'm, running a 2 deep, whatever it is I'm gonna do, I gotta have the safeties in place. I'm gonna need some really good linebackers if I'm gonna run a 3-4. I'm gonna need, if I'm gonna do a 4-3, I gotta have some stout dudes up front. Like, I need players that can complement the scheme, and if I got guys that has the potential to be successful within a certain scheme, then I got to make sure that I got the right kind of coaches that can build that up. That's what I need. You know what I mean? And so, when you look at the Giants, they played a 3-4. That's why Taylor was able to be as great as he was, because of a guy, as a talent, underworld talent that he had. And he most likely would have had a career that he had because the Giants were bad for the beginning of his career until Parcells got there. But because of that 3-4 defense, because he had good linebackers like Carl Banks, and you got, you had Leonard Williams and those guys up front, and then of course you got, LT. He was able to put these guys in position and coach them up. Why do you think he can go from Parcells, I'm talking about, he go from there, he can go to the Patriots, get them to a Super Bowl, get Dallas into the playoffs, make them formidable again? Because good coaches know how to, they like Parcells always said, you want me to cook the groceries, or you want me to cook the meal, I got to pick the groceries, because they know what they need. And so I'm not saying that completely a player should just be, completely just abdicate of his responsibilities to develop as a player and an athlete. Yes, you got to do that, but you got to have a scheme. Like, Jordan doesn't become Jordan if Phil Jackson doesn't help him get to the next level of his skill sets and develop him. Other than that, he would have just been another Dominique Wilkins for the most part of his career, a guy who can score but never would have done nothing with his career. So that's all I'm saying. I don't disagree with you, but I'm just saying Dallas just didn't have that. I think now we got a little something. I think McCarthy and these guys are trying to open it up a little bit more, and you see some guys starting to come up, but Dak just never was able to get that level of freedom to develop, to say, hey, you can make some mistakes and you can just go ahead and learn and grow, because we believe that you are one of these top elite quarterbacks. And if you're going to get paid like one, then you're going to have to make the big throws. You're going to have to do the things that are necessary to play like the big dogs do in this league. So, but you can't do that if they got you checking down, for most of your,
I agree.
So
I agree. And then also having Zeke and him being as explosive as he was, that took a lot of pressure. And then he kind of, was in the forefront, and it allowed Dak or it hampered his development, being able to push the ball down the field. And so, okay. I think we can agree to disagree on that. But let's get a score on this Jets Cowboys game. You guys, I think, are 8.5-point favorites. That means you guys should win, really, 8.5 points. It should be an easy game. It really should. The odds makers aren't giving you guys any chance of losing. It's like, this is a walk in the park. You got, Zach Wilson. And so, yeah. And the way you guys looked, you beat the Giants 40-zip. So you guys should certainly beat. And I think Daniel Jones is better than Zach Wilson, right?
Yeah, I would think he is. Yeah. I would say he is. Yeah. But
please
he doesn't have
the
the complimentary players, though.
17.5.
I would give,
because you're coming up with some obscure score.
Yeah, I always give you those real weird numbers, right? I'm like, 42.5, something silly like that. But I'm gonna go actually 23-13 Dallas. And it's going to be close. 23-13. I only think we're going to win by 10. And we're going to get a score at the end that would kind of, make it the 2-point game the 2-possession game that they'll need. So to really solidify the game. Yeah.
And what we're going to do this season, is we're going to actually keep a tally. Last week, you did pick the Bills. I picked the Jets. And I think
you
my
picked
score,
the Jets last week. You did?
I picked the Jets last week.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think I picked. I think the score was 23-17, something like that. I think that was the score.
23. So shout out to Ken Briggs in the building. What's good, bro?
Yes. What's up? What's
good, sir?
So okay. I think I like the Cowboys to win. I don't think they'll cover. I think we'll go.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
27-24.
27-24.
Yes. I think it'll be a closer game. And I might be giving a little bit too much offense based on both defenses going at each other. But I do think there's going to be some short fields and some turnovers and maybe fumble, scoop and score, something like that. I think there will be some defensive points scored. But I would say 27-24 Cowboys.
27-20. Wow. Yeah, so you think our offense could put up 27 points on that Jet D?
If you can't, you will never see
what?
us. If you can't put up 27 points against the Jets, you will never see them.
But do you know how good that defense is, though, D?
Is it better than ours?
Really? No, it's not. But it's What y'all ain't but D. Y'all's defense is not that much better than the Jets. The Jets right now, if you had to go with the top
Jets, nothing.
Three, the Jets.
Right, Jets.
Jets.
But
Utu, listen, I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. You gotta go to YouTube TV.
YouTube TV, Jets. No, but the Jets. Yeah. America is a private joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Listen. The Jets have a legitimate defense. Now that defense is going to work really harder. Now, you know what? Let me put it to you this way: 27 is a lot of points, but we still should be able to put some points in because if we can keep their defense out there a long time, and be able to get the Jets offense off the field, make those guys work, then yeah, maybe. But that's a D. And when you talk about top defenses in the league, you got to talk about. You got 49ers, you got Cowboys, you got the Eagles, and you got the Jets, and the Jets are probably better than the Eagles. I think they're the third best defense in the league, in my opinion, behind Dallas and they don't really have a lot of weaknesses because they can actually stop the run, and they're good against the pass too. I really do think
Jets are definitely
that's a good defense.
Top five for sure. Maybe
top
even
five
top
for
three.
sure.
Yeah,
no question
five.
about it. Yeah.
And you don't, and so the big thing is, we need to be number one. You don't need to be number one as long as all of the other things are working together. You get what I'm saying? Like, if the offense is able to sustain drives, and because it doesn't matter if you're number 0. Right. If your defense is constantly out there, to your point, they're gonna get tired, and then that's where the bomb, someone's gonna throw a bomb, someone's gonna be out of assignment, and then that's when it kind of falls apart. So
I agree.
Let's talk about the other game we're going to highlight. 49ers versus the Rams. Now last week the Rams looked really impressive. We know Cooper Kupp is hurt.
Yep.
He's on IR. And there's talk, I'm reading on Twitter that they may not, depending on where they are and how he's feeling, and it might be a little bit more. He's out longer. They may not even bring him back. They may be on a fire sale towards, trade deadline, because at this point, we don't know what Matthew Stafford is going to do, because there was talk that they were going to reach out to the Rams to see if Matthew Stafford wanted to go to the Jets. Yeah. So if you're already trying to do that with your main piece or one of your main pieces on the offensive end, then that means you're in rebuild mode, and you don't mind trying to get assets for the players that are still viable, that still could be used and added to a team who's trying to make a championship run. So I say all that to say, they looked pretty good. It was Seattle. Yeah. The correlation between Geno turned back into the Jets Geno last week. The Jets, it was a bad week for all the representatives of the Jets. Geno looked bad, and it seemed like you would think Seattle, with the Rams being in somewhat of a rebuild mode and their best player is out, and and they pretty much, Matthew Stafford said he didn't know any of the receivers. He didn't know their names and all. So you heard all of that where there wasn't really a connection the way he had with Cooper Kupp. They were eating breakfast and they were going to first watch, every week. They weren't doing any of that. So it was like, well, where's the connection? You don't know the receivers, but Tutu Atwell and Puka Uka Uka, they balled out last week.
Yeah, they did. They did.
So
they were on
piece. Yeah, they were on display, and they were able to do really well. Unfortunately, their run game is suspect. Karen Williams looked good, but he wasn't the starter. Cam Akers, this was his big shot to actually lock down that starting running back role. I'm telling you, you have to have, and teams that really want to do something, and you guys have a really good running back. You got to have that running component that can sustain drives. That's what, because the days of a quarterback just standing back and throwing 45, 50 times, that can happen. You can win in spurts, but that is not a sustainable recipe to actually win in the big game. You know what I mean? I think you got to have a run game. You got to have your defense working, your offense, a quarterback making sound decisions, being able to control the turnovers. So I think this game, we never look, because it's a divisional game, we never look past anyone. I think Matthew Stafford is not going to have the time that he had last week. He had the time where he could look at all the reads, look back at the coach, talk to somebody, find out what the receiver's name is for the first time, shake the guest, welcome first-time visitors, all of that. He had all the time in the world to do all that. And so I don't think he's going to have that time with the Niners. I think we're going to put on, and of course, Kyle Shanahan, always, he has the Rams number. I mean, Jimmy G, he always had the Rams number. And I think Brock Purdy is going to step right into that role where we own the Rams. I'm not looking for a 30-7 victory, but I do think that it's going to be a good divisional game. Like you said last week, your team made a statement to the division. Now, mind you, we made a statement to the entire league. But if you guys want to just focus on making statements, individual statements to one, teams, close to you guys, and hey, we want whisper in their ear that we're good. We made a statement to the entire league, NFC, AFC, that we are the best. Okay. But we will make a statement, a divisional statement tomorrow, and we're going to. I predict that we win, and it's going to be in every facet of every area. We're going to show defensive, offense, special teams, of course, coaching. We have the edge, and personnel wise, we really should win. It shouldn't be a problem. What do you say?
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I don't think there's much to disagree, and not going to get much of debate on me on this. In fact, this game will go down to being I'm just going to pick a score now. It's going to be 35-10. They're going to blow them out. The Rams won't even bother to show up. This game is useless. It's meaningless. It probably shouldn't even be shown. It should be a blackout game, even in the local area, because that's how bad this game is going to be. Those young receivers stand no chance. The defense of the 49ers is way too much like the Steelers were last week offensively. They're going to be overwhelmed. I don't care. McVay, we know he was always, boy genius and all that stuff, but you don't have those guys like that right now. You don't have a Cooper Kupp. You don't even have a Ramsey on the other side anymore, to even try to slow down an Ayuk or Debo and those other guys there. So, and like you said, what is it, 8 straight games in a row? I think you guys won against them. You own them. You've got
in the regular season. They did beat us.
In the regular season.
They did beat us in the NFC Championship
in the NFC Championship game, right. And you know what is so weird about that? Because it seemed like that seemed so long ago, right? Like, that's not the team anymore, right? Like, that Ram team is gone. It's like, even with Stafford there, it's still not the team anymore, right? So, and that's why they got Stafford, right? It was really not to have a dynasty, but just to get a ring. And they got it, and it served its purpose. They got a ring, and, they're relevant. So, hey, it's all good. But, there was no long-term success ever was going to be birthed out of that move. And, and so, they stand no chance. It's 35-10. They're going to blow them out. It's not even worth it. And you have to make that. And the reason for the Cowboys making a step against the Giants, only because, again, the Giants, playoff team last year, they didn't win they won a wild card, got into a divisional, round there in the playoffs. And so, and there's talk that, they may have a chance and they could be sneaky good and all that. No, we don't even want them thinking that they are who they are. Okay. We're ripping their whole identity from them. Any dreams, hopes, prayers, decrees, declarations, whatever they want to say. Profit, they're nothing. Nothing is going.
No manifestation of anything.
No manifestation of nothing. It's not coming to pass. Nothing. We letting y'all know. No, 40 to nothing. That's it. You're not get this. We don't want you even starting to think that you are who you are. Okay, so that's why you had to make that statement, and that's really what you want to do the rest of your division. I mean, you just don't want to give anybody a chance to even think that they're on your level. And I think even though the Rams are going to be at home, it won't make a difference. They're going to just pound them out. That game stands no chance. So like I said, this is a year, that the Cowboys and the 49ers are going to be teams, even though the Eagles looked impressive the other night, somewhat. I mean,
I was about to say, I don't think they.
Let me retract that. Actually, it really wasn't. Of course, I was out of town, so I was in and out, trying to sneak a little bit in and there, and I saw Kirk Cousins getting them on a little comeback there, whatever the case may be. But again, like I say, the Eagles, to me, are trash. I know everybody's talking about that. I know they represented the Super Bowl, but I'm not worried about the Eagles at all. We will beat the Eagles. There's only one team. And one team only we're worried about.
This is why I was not impressed by the Eagles.
Okay.
Time of possession, 39 minutes. The Vikings had 4 turnovers. How do you allow Kirk Cousins to throw 364 yards and 4 touchdowns in a matter of 20 minutes? 21 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah.
If a team, so just think if they didn't have the turnovers, there was a touchdown that Jefferson caught where he lost it out of bounds. So the game really could have gone, it was under a touchdown. The game could have went either way. And sometimes you have to win close games because that kind of lets you know in those situations, when it gets tight, everything's not going to be a 40 zip, 30-7. You still got to be able to, when a team is putting up points, you have to still be able to function and answer back and all of that good stuff. But I just think out the gate, they haven't been super impressive. They don't have necessarily a Super Bowl hangover, but I don't think that they're impressive to the fact they're coming because they were that close and now they're picking up where they left off. No, I don't think so.
Not at all. So I totally agree.
And you see, and we'll maybe discuss this on another show, but you see how crazy Alexander Madison, the text messages that he shared, the death threats, because he had fumbled the ball, I think, twice. And they were racial slurs, telling him to off himself. Ridiculous stuff. That's when fandom goes.
Yeah, that's when it gets high. It goes too far.
Even if you mortgaged your house on the game, that's you're an idiot for doing that.
That's you. That's your own addiction.
You can't now. Things happen, but it was really vile, and some of the stuff was just it crossed the line.
Wow. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And we just got to remember, at the end of the day, as much as we get, caught up in it and we get emotionally charged, these are humans. These are people that have feelings, and it's just a game. At the end of the day, it's entertainment.
Right. That's all.
NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL is all entertainment. I think at the end of the day, it could have went either way. And so I think that the Eagles were fortunate to get out with a victory. I don't think that they are 100% in the flow because they lost defensive and offensive coordinators. So that you gotta kind of adjust to that. That's not we did training camp and then now we're back and that ideology has to now translate and be able to permeate within let me see what other word I can use. I have 7 words I have to use in this broadcast and I got 3 more. No, I'm just joking. But I just think that there are things that need to be, you have to be able, like you said, Kellen Moore was holding back Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dak.
And so there was something that came up on Twitter, and I just want to get your take on it before I give a final score. They were talking about that play that they run with Jalen Hurts, that kind of rugby play where the running back comes behind and pushes him in. Should they ban that? Because you really can't defend it. The only thing you are doing is putting the quarterback in harm's way, because if that defensive line is able to somehow bend him back in a way, I wouldn't do that to a quarterback that's making 45 or 50 million a year. But hey,
right.
Everybody goes on the fact that, he squats 600 pounds. Well, that's more than 600 pounds coming against you.
Yeah.
And, I just think
push.
exactly.
Right.
The running back be the running back, especially on the goal line.
Right.
I get it with quarterback sneaks occasionally, but that was their MO. I mean, he did that how many times last year?
Oh my God.
I don't think, I think it's ill-advised, but we'll see. What do you think about that whole?
No, I think the committee had actually looked at that play in the beginning of the year. I think that one of the broadcasters was saying it in that game the other night, that they were looking at that, and they just didn't find enough to overturn it. They didn't find enough within that play to say, you know what, we need to ban this, and we believe that there's a disadvantage here from a competitive standpoint. And so, you know what, they didn't change it. So I think in another year they'll change it. And it's funny because teams don't really do it as much as the Eagles do. They're really the only team that does it per se. You know what I mean?
So it would seem kind of isolated, and it would be something
correct.
That
exactly.
they could then say, "Oh, why y'all picking on us?"
Yeah. Exactly.
Shout out to my boy Scrap, who he usually comments and he says, "Oh man, you got to have me on the show because I have so much to say, more than I'd be texting all the time responding, because he takes it personal whenever we talk about the Eagles." But he has to. I would think that he needs to, if he's honest, he'll see that, they don't look super impressive. They have been fortunate to get out of the first 2 weeks and get some W's, but they don't look as crisp as they did last year. And I think that's because the offense and the defense look good, but I think offensively they're not completely in sync yet. And that will come with time.
And I think what's going to happen too, and I'm a Cowboy fan, and I don't want to see the Eagles. I want them to implode, and that's kind of what I'm hoping with AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts. In the sense where AJ Brown, gets to this point where he puts pressure on wanting to be the number one, and then you know what that does to quarterbacks, right? You know what I mean? Now they feel pressure, like we talked about. You brought up the point earlier with Diggs, right? Mm-hmm. So if that happens, that messes up him. That's what happened with Dez. That's why Dallas ended up letting him go, because he was putting a lot of pressure on Dak. He wanted to be the one get the ball, and they didn't want Dak force feeding. You know what I'm saying? Just the Dez, and so that's that might be something to keep an eye on as well. Right. But I hope it does.
I text him. I text my boy that. I text him. I said, "Yo, that's your Diggs. That's your Diggs right there.
Yeah, that's your Diggs.
When you getting it, because then it's not even about winning anymore. You guys are winning, and you're complaining because you only got 4 targets. And does that change your pay? You're not paid by the catch, although it does ultimately. But you got the bag already, so
you already got the bag, right?
And,
so I mean,
and you have, come on. And you probably will get another decent payday or an extension moving forward, because they know that AJ Brown elevated.
He did.
I mean, like when he came,
he did what Cooper did for Dak. Yeah, what Amari Cooper did for Dak. No question.
Right. And also what Diggs did for Josh Allen. So
and what Diggs did for Josh Allen. Yeah.
They get paid, but I think it's something to look into, as you said. If that continues, because Devontae is just, he can't help it that he weighs 160 pounds and he can blow past people. He's super fast, but he balled out in Alabama. So we can't be surprised by that. And
it ain't like you got a scrub number 2 over there.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
And you're just throwing it to him, and he's dropping it. He's making the most of every opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I get it. AJ Brown wants to be, he wants the ball, but you're in a high-powered offense, and it's only week 2. Like, give it some time. Injuries can happen. They can start trying to take, Devontae away, and then you're like, you just got to go into the flow of the offense.
Exactly. But, Totally agree. So,
but I'll give you my score prediction.
Yeah, what's your score
there? That the 49ers will win 28-17. 28-17 for the.
Really? They gonna be that close? That's close.
I just think that we don't. It's not about, for us, that's college stuff. I got to put up a 56-4. We don't need style points. We need the W, and that's it. So yeah, we don't have. I think.
Nah, you got to make a statement. You can't. When you gonna make a statement to your division, you got to let them know. You got to. Yeah, you got to.
Oh God.
You got to.
Yo,
You got to.
so I can't wait. When's your next divisional game?
Chest.
Because beating up on the Giants 40-zip doesn't mean okay. They're a one-dimensional team, so beating up on them that way doesn't make the impact that you think it does, right? Because in your pecking order, right? No, in the NFC East, the Giants wouldn't. They're at 3 at best, right? Because you would have whether you have the Cowboys, Eagles, or Eagles, Cowboys. The Giants are in 3rd in the East, right? Wouldn't you consider that?
Yeah,
you think Washington
I don't know. It depends. Them and the Commanders can flip flop from week to week as far as the cellar dwellers of that division. So yeah.
So I say all that to say that there isn't a high expectation. Once you play the Eagles, that is the measuring stick and the barometer where you are in that division. That's the time to make the statement. And where you, when do you guys play them?
The next, you talking about our next, we
divisional
don't actually
game.
Our next divisional game is not till November 5th, and that is actually against the Eagles. So you really got to make a statement in that one, yeah. So
and I'll say this: the other reason why we don't have to put up gaudy numbers because we have a short week. We play Thursday again.
Oh yeah, I do.
We play the Giants.
That's interesting.
So
you just pull your starter. I mean, if you go with my score, you'll just pull your starters by the 4th quarter. They'll be done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it'll be a wrap. Yeah. So this game stands no chance, D. I think you're being just, I understand. You don't want to be overconfident, right? You don't want to be. I get it, but this game is trash. It's garbage. The Rams stand no chance. Those young receivers, they'll realize that they got work to do after Sunday.
Puka, I think he had a oblique injury. No,
did he have an injury?
Tutu Atwell and Puka something. I think he's dealing with an oblique injury, but I think McVay said he's cleared to play. Nakua.
It's Puka
Nakua. Puka Nakua.
Yeah.
I don't like when people say people's names wrong and try to mock it. So Puka.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
No disrespect to Puka.
No disrespect to the family. No question.
No. But in any case, I think we'll get the W and
y'all will. Yeah,
the beat rolls on, and we'll see in week 5 if we're both undefeated. It should be
right.
No, those tickets. Even if I wanted to go to the game, which I had wanted to, but the tickets, if we both come in undefeated, it's gonna be way too much.
Listen, that's gonna be if it's Donspiracy involved, maybe that'll happen, right? Just for the NFL to make sure that game is as marquee as possible. So maybe
it's a Sunday night game, right? It's a Sunday night game too, I think.
That's let me see. So the Cowboys, 49ers. That's a Sun. Yeah. 5:20. No, that's a 4:00 game. No, is it? No, wait.
That's Sunday night.
Oh no, that's Sunday night. Yeah, I'm sorry, Sunday night game. My bad. Yeah, Sunday night.
Yeah. So that should be good, man. But listen, I don't know. Can you give us a quick score update with Colorado State?
I certainly can. So right now, situation is it's 21-14 Colorado State. And we currently got Buffalo is right now on the 25-yard line in Colorado State's territory. It's 3rd and 10. Shador is running for his life. He does complete a pass. It's only good for 3 yards. So we're looking at a 4th down situation here. So they may end up kicking field goals. 3rd. So it's a lot of football left. But Colorado State is up 21-14. Yeah.
Clearly no 23.5 point spread. They're not.
Definitely
doesn't look like they're going to beat them by 23.5. I think that was insulting.
That was very.
But listen, man.
Chase Feely. Okay.
It's going to be very interesting. We will on our next show. We're going to talk about all the Sunday games, but we had to really quickly get in the games that really matter to us. Of course, the Niners versus the Rams, Cowboys versus who you guys play again? The Jets. Once again,
Jets.
Jets. Shout out to Kingdom Creator for the production. Shout out to Infinite Audio for the music.
I ain't in the building.
That smooth melodic flow in the back that you hear during our show.
Come on,
is from Infinite Audio. Once again, please like, share, subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube page. We do appreciate it. We appreciate the interaction. We appreciate the comments that people make when we put our shorts up and our clips. Please, once again, if you have any comments, please ask the questions, put the comments out. We'll touch and broach subjects that you guys want us to discuss. Until next time, go Niners. Peace.
Peace.